Focus. That elusive superpower we're all chasing. But what if I told you our inability to concentrate isn't a personal failure, but rather a predictable response to living in what scientists call the most distracting environment in human history?
Oh wow, that's such a powerful way to frame it. I've been feeling so guilty about my scattered attention lately.
Here's what fascinates me about this whole topic. Neuroscience shows that our prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO, actually weakens under constant digital stimulation. Every notification, every scroll, every ping is literally rewiring our neural pathways.
So you're saying our phones are essentially reprogramming our brains? That's kind of terrifying when you think about it.
Well, the research is pretty clear. Studies show we're now averaging about 40% less sustained attention than we did just a decade ago. And get this, the average person checks their phone 262 times per day.
Hold on, that's nearly once every 3 minutes during waking hours. No wonder we can't focus on anything substantial.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Our brains are actually getting addicted to what scientists call variable reward patterns. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. Every time we check our phone, we're playing a neurological lottery.
That explains so much about why it's so hard to resist checking notifications. But what's the solution? Because we can't exactly go live in a cave.
Well, this is where the concept of neuroplasticity training comes in. Research shows we can actually rebuild our focus through specific practices. The key is understanding that we only have about 4 to 6 hours of peak cognitive performance each day.
Just 4 to 6 hours? That's way less than I thought. How do we make the most of that limited window?
So here's the game-changing approach. It starts with what neuroscientists call dopamine fasting. The idea is to create specific time blocks where you're completely insulated from those quick-hit dopamine triggers. Studies show this can increase focus by up to 47% within just 2 weeks.
That's fascinating. But what exactly does a dopamine fast look like in practice?
Picture this. No social media before noon, phone in another room during work blocks, and batch processing emails just twice a day. But here's the crucial part. You need to replace those dopamine hits with what researchers call sustained reward activities.
You know, that reminds me of something I read about how top performers in various fields structure their days. They all seem to have these intense periods of uninterrupted focus.
Exactly. And there's solid science behind that. When we enter what's called a flow state, our brain produces a specific cocktail of neurochemicals: dopamine, norepinephrine, anandamide, endorphins, and serotonin. It's literally like a natural performance-enhancing drug.
That's incredible. So how do we trigger this optimal brain state?
Research shows it requires 3 key conditions: a challenge that's slightly beyond your current skill level, clear goals, and immediate feedback. When these align, studies show productivity can increase by up to 500%.
500%? That seems almost unbelievable.
Well, here's the fascinating part. Researchers at Harvard found that people in flow states can learn new skills up to 490% faster than normal. But there's a catch. It takes about 23 minutes to fully enter this state, and any interruption resets the clock.
So when I'm proud of myself for multitasking, I'm actually sabotaging my own performance?
Exactly that. Studies show that what we call multitasking actually reduces productivity by 40% and can temporarily lower IQ by up to 15 points. That's equivalent to missing a night's sleep.
Well, that certainly changed my perspective on answering emails during meetings.
And here's another mind-blowing finding. Research shows that just having your phone visible, even if it's turned off, reduces cognitive capacity by about 10%. It's like our brains are constantly running a background program, checking for notifications.
So what's the solution? How do we protect our mental energy in a world that's constantly demanding our attention?
The latest research points to something called cognitive shielding. It's about creating what neuroscientists call attention architecture. Specific environmental and behavioral structures that make it almost impossible to get distracted.
That sounds promising. What does that look like in practice?
Think of it like building a focus fortress. Studies show that implementing just 3 key practices, time blocking, environment design, and energy management, can increase productive output by up to 230%. But here's the key. It's not about working harder, it's about working aligned with your brain's natural rhythms.
You've given me so much to think about. It's like we need to become architects of our own attention.
That's exactly right. Because in this age of constant distraction, the ability to focus deeply isn't just a productivity hack. It's becoming the ultimate competitive advantage. Studies predict that by 2025, deep focus skills will be among the most valuable career assets.
This has been eye-opening. I'm definitely going to start with that phone-free morning practice.
And that's the perfect place to start. Remember, every moment of sustained attention is a small victory in reclaiming your mental sovereignty. In a world of scattered attention, focused thought isn't just powerful, it's revolutionary.